Hello and welcome, dear friends, to another edition of Umuntu, a special economic development program devoted to free ideas for promoting fairness and human well-being in Malawi. The role of political leaders and ordinary citizens, how Malawi can get a foothold on the development ladder, and what holds back development progress in Malawi are some of the questions we tackle in this program. Our topic in today's edition is about infrastructure development for economic growth. Specifically, we'll focus on road projects in Malawi to reveal what's going wrong and suggest what should be done. I'm your host, Chrispin Dambula. Stay tuned. The role of roads in economic development can never be stressed enough. It is well documented in historiographies that good road networks enabled empires to grow their economies. A case in point is the Roman Empire, whose economic success was tied to an extensive system of roads. They constructed road networks covering over 60,000 miles that linked 100 million people for trade and communication. Roads have continued to be integral to economic development today. It is not surprising that rich countries have good road networks. Examples include China, Russia, Switzerland, Sweden, and the United States. In contrast, poor countries like Malawi do not have good road networks. Since independence in 1964, Malawi has only 4,000 kilometers of paved roads. By paved, we include roads with potholes and those that have completely lost tar due to lack of maintenance. Strictly speaking, paved roads in Malawi cover less than 4,000 kilometers. In February this year, Malawi government appealed for 1.5 trillion Kwacha for road projects. This is a good development and the government should be commended on the initiative. According to government authorities, to accelerate economic development and achieve Malawi's Vision 2063, new or upgraded roads are needed. This sounds like good news. Most of us lauded the government when this appeal was made in February 2023. But considering that our government leadership has changed different hands since independence and multi-party democracy, one question must be asked. Is this the first appeal for road construction funds in the history of our country? No. Previous regimes made similar appeals, including Kamuzubanda, but only managed less than 4,000 kilometers of paved roads during his 30-year presidential tenure. But that is not the bone of contention here. As much as the number of kilometers of road coverage is important, what matters most is where the roads are constructed. In the next part of today's program, I will reveal what's missing in our country's road projects. Before we proceed, I want to point out that many rural households do not have access to vital infrastructure such as safe drinking water, electricity, reliable transportation or modern communication services, and many others. A lot of work needs to be done to contribute to improvement of the livelihoods of Malawians living in rural areas. But our focus in today's program is roads. Economic growth cannot be generated without augmenting rural farming and mining communities with roads for transportation. Why rural communities? It's because they live on farming and lately some have switched over to mining. A lot of mining and agricultural productivity takes place in rural areas, but transportation is always a setback due to lack of good roads. Indeed, producers of perishable goods like tomatoes, bananas, vegetables, potatoes, avocados, citrus, and other fruits like baobab, matoo or African chewing gum, and masao or zizaifas incur losses since they cannot get to the markets in urban areas before their agricultural products go bad. Mining communities must wait for buyers to find them, and many buyers dictate prices, taking advantage of lack of access to markets. But where are good roads concentrated in our country? The answer is urban areas. We have paved roads in places like Lilongwe Area 23, Nkoma, and Tukumbe in Blantyre, just to mention a few. While such roads are important, they are not strategic for economic growth. They mainly serve the rich to drive their cars comfortably or accelerate deforestation as they make way for charcoal burners like Nkoma Road. What many political leaders are not aware of is that construction of roads is not an end, but a means to the delivery of goods and services that promote prosperity and growth. In this case, we are talking about mining and agricultural products. Let's come back to Malawi government's appeal for 1.5 trillion Kwacha for road projects. According to the government, out of this budget, only 19.5 billion kwacha will be allocated to road projects in rural areas. That means urban roads will benefit more, yet as we have seen, rural roads are more strategic for economic growth in our country. If the government is serious about improving livelihoods of Malawians, more money should be allocated to road projects to connect rural communities with markets. To be strategic, the government should target rural communities that are in mining or production of soybeans, cotton, dairy, and other agricultural products. Now we've come to the end of our program today. But before we go, we want to hear your thoughts. Who deserves top consideration for good roads at this time between rural and urban communities in Malawi? Post your comments on msika.tech. msika.tech. Thank you for being with us today. Be there again next week when we shall bring you another edition of Umuntu. Bye for now.